Welcome to Biztech's Technology Show, where we feature tech companies that are making a difference. Today, we're featuring Gupshup, which is a messaging services company with primary operations in India, US, and the UK. It provides SMS, email, voice, IP messaging, and chatbot development services to leading large enterprises, retail companies, as well as e-commerce companies. Now, to tell us more is Beerud. He's Gupshup's co-founder and CEO. Welcome to the show, Beerud.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about Gupshup as a company, your history, and how you started the business?
Sure. Firstly, for people that are not familiar, the word Gupshup itself means chit chat or gossip, I guess, and it's an appropriate name for a chat or messaging based company.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then a quick personal background as well. I have been a serial entrepreneur. I previously founded a company called Elance, which is now called Upwork, and we pioneered the gig economy. It is a public company on NASDAQ, maybe 5 or 6 billion market cap, right? So sort of we pioneered this whole idea of remote work that is now, become conventional wisdom. All of us are doing that. Gupshup is the second company, and it was founded really on the vision of, or sort of we noticed the power of SMS as the lowest common denominator. It's the way to reach billions of mobile users worldwide, right? Truly ubiquitous. And we ended up building out this enterprise messaging platform. We help enterprises send real-time text messages to their customers. It could be a bank updating you on a credit card transaction. It could be an e-commerce company saying your order is confirmed or your package is shipped, or the airline saying your flight is delayed, and so on. So we handle about 5 to 6 billion messages a month that go through our platform. In turn, we connect to mobile operators and to other platforms to deliver the message to the user, right? So we are a messaging platform. And maybe one thing I'll add is the messaging industry itself is changing from SMS being the primary channel to now newer IP-based messaging channels like WhatsApp and other things, right? Which allow you to do rich images, to allow you to do two-way conversations and so on. And that's where we really describe ourselves as a conversational messaging platform. It's a business that can have a conversation with a consumer to do marketing, sales, customer support. I mean, it really opens up a lot of new use cases. So we're really excited about the growth potential here.
Now, Beerud, to help our audience kind of understand this whole landscape a lot better, perhaps you could help us by breaking it down into specific solutions or in terms of how you've helped your customers, perhaps in the large enterprise space, small and medium-sized enterprises, as well as business to consumer type e-commerce platforms.
Sure. I think, businesses need to do real-time customer engagement. Like the examples I gave earlier, whether it's a travel and hospitality company, a taxi company, a food delivery company, and so on, or even a low-end, a restaurant, a small retail store or a grocery store, right? They're all engaging their customers in real time. They need to notify them if there's a transaction, send them a text message, sending them an update, a verification, a one-time password for verification, and things like that. So in all of these scenarios, they are sending out, companies worldwide across all kinds of industries send, about 2 trillion messages to mobile subscribers worldwide. So that's where, Gupshup, and there are a few other companies like that, provide, they handle the whole complexity around this. There's a lot of complexity that we abstract away because it could go to through different operators in different countries, and then WhatsApp and other channels emerging as well. So all of that, our platform takes care of all that complexity, provides a single API that makes it easy for businesses to simply deliver the message in real time to the user. And this is a very important part of growth for businesses, right? It allows them to reach out to new customers. It allows them to engage their existing customers, right, to build sort of strong product relationships, keeps customer satisfaction high, it reduces customer support calls, and so on. So it serves many, many business objectives for all kinds of businesses.
And Beerud, and one of the things that really helps a lot of companies is really to, as you said, reduce the complexity of the multiple digital touch points that they have with their existing customers, and also enables them to reach out to new customers a lot easier. Am I correct? I think that's one of the key, those are some of the key things that you help customers. Does it also then help them in terms of building greater intimacy with the customer? Because obviously, if they want to do the same level, but with human intervention, that's going to cost them a lot more money and perhaps add to significant amount of complexity.
That's exactly right, right? See, consumers these days, firstly, they're spending a lot more time on their mobile phones. And secondly, they expect that interacting with the business should be as easy as chatting with a friend, right? They don't want to call the call center and stay on hold for 10, 20 minutes. They don't want to have to go to a website and look around for different kinds of information. Why can't it just be as simple as sending a text message and getting a response right away, right? Just like you do with a friend. So that's sort of the consumer expectation. And businesses are realizing that dealing with customers through these messaging apps it's like the new digital front door, right? This is where the footfalls are. This is where people are expecting to find them. And I'll give a couple of quick analogies. One is in the mid 90s when the web came about, every business had to build a website. Now everyone is going to have to build these sort of conversational experiences. And another thing, just look at what's happening in China with WeChat, right? It is a super app to do all kinds of transactions for consumers, which means every business has to have a presence there, right? And everyone from a small restaurant to a large bank and all kinds of businesses in between they create these mini programs for WeChat. So in the same way, right? I think for countries outside China, it may be through other messaging apps, it may be through WhatsApp, it may be through SMS messaging app and so on. But that's where consumers are. That's how consumers are going to interact with businesses, and businesses are going to have to build these sort of conversational experiences that delight, that provide customer delight, that provide instant support and service. And through automation, you can solve this. Today, sometimes there's a false choice. Either you spend a lot of money developing these customer support service, or you sort of it increases your expenses. But with automated conversational experiences now, you can have low cost product as well as great customer service. It's no longer a choice between the two.
And Beerud, I want to pick you up on that, because one industry that screams in terms of for automation in many parts of the world is really the banking and financial services industry. And as we move to digital transformation and digital banking, conversational chats, applications and solutions like yours enable banks to cut their costs dramatically and shrink their physical footprints.
Exactly. I mean, you look at the physical branch sort of footprint that banks have, or call centers, right? And globally that banks invest in. And yet sometimes, it is, from a consumer standpoint, it's inconvenient, right? Going to a branch just to do a basic transaction or staying on hold, that can take time. Instead, sort of a simple chat experience can be so much more delightful, quick, instant, and very effective. Okay, because in a chat conversation, you already know the user's identity, right? So you don't have to call and sort of re-authenticate yourself for the 10th time. It already knows. It also knows the history of your interactions. So it can be very personalized. It can be very contextual, right? It can be very intelligent and so on. It works 24/7, unlike a branch or a call center. There are no peak hours, right? Where there's a long queue, either in the branch or the call center again, because software can handle, unlimited scale at any time. So it really takes customer support to a whole new level, right? It's instant, it's responsive, it is personalized, highly customized, and so on. And also, like I said, low cost, because with software, there's no, you can scale up and down and provide 24/7 coverage without having to spend as much as you do with sort of manual effort.
Now, Beerud, there are a lot of products and which are competitors to your company. People like Live Service, ServiceNow, Live Person, even IBM's Watson, for example. So, what gives you the competitive edge? Why are your customers choosing you?
So, to get this right, there are two elements, right? So we describe ourselves as a conversational messaging platform because there are the two elements. Are firstly the messaging part of it, and then the conversations part of it, right? So to deliver a good experience, you need to do both of these. And unlike the companies you mentioned, we have a long history. We've been doing the messaging business for 10 plus years now, right? So we've built a very stable, solid, high scale, high performance platform for SMS messaging, and now for WhatsApp and many other new channels as well. Um, and so and to build the conversational layer on top of that messaging platform, it only works as well as the integration between those two components, right? So I think there are many messaging companies that have been doing the old business, but they haven't been able to transition to the new part.
Okay.
And there are many companies sort of just jumping to the new, chatbot development services and so on, but they don't have the history with the messaging industry. I think Gupshup is unique in that we are both an incumbent leader, a very high scale, high volume messaging platform, and an early mover and pioneer in building out these conversational experiences. So I think that's where Gupshup really stands out, and we are scaling up globally very rapidly.
And I'm going to come to your strategy shortly, but I've got to ask you this question. Since the pandemic hit, have you seen a change in adoption rates and different sectors utilizing your services and solutions, given the fact that digitization and transformation has literally been forced upon many industries?
Exactly right. And I think we've experienced the same as well, right? The pandemic has accelerated digital transformation across industries, small and large, businesses, small and large, right? So as you can imagine, right, even small restaurants, malls, retailers, they're not getting footfalls anymore. So they've had to adapt to survive and thrive, right? So there, and again, for these kind of businesses, building an app is not an option, because how many restaurant apps does a consumer have? How many retail apps or mall apps do customers download? Very few. Messaging, on the other hand, is truly ubiquitous. It works for everyone. It's easy to engage, and also the development cost for the businesses are lower. So we are seeing a great adoption, certainly so there's multiple transitions happening, right? You have from the offline businesses now moving online, from purely physical interactions to digital interactions. And then e-commerce companies are just having to deal with a lot of scale, right? Because a lot of transactions that would happen in the offline world are going to e-commerce companies as well.
Yes.
You have the payment industry, digital payments and transactions has just exploded in many parts of the world and such. So we've just seen a great acceleration, and I don't see it, going back, reverting back to the prior status quo, because now in a way people were forced to adapt, but now they see the advantages and the benefits of working this way and transacting this way. So I think we continue to see great demand, great interest in people wanting to adopt these new technologies.
So globally, where are you seeing your strongest areas of growth for the business?
There are some regions that have been very good at adopting these sort of conversational experiences, especially on WhatsApp and so on, right? So certainly, the bulk of our business is in India. We see a lot of growth there. Latin America is surprisingly doing extremely well. Businesses small and large using these new trends. US, of course, continues to adopt these things. And then, Southeast Asia, Africa, I mean, these are regions that we expect to, we are seeing early signs of growth as well, right? So, I mean, look, the simple thing is just like WhatsApp became this dominant messaging platform for person-to-person messaging, it will become a great way to communicate with enterprises as well. And it's slowly happening in small steps, but you're going to see increasingly happening more. And same with SMS as well. Very powerful medium for business to consumer interactions.
Beerud, there's something interesting that you just mentioned. Latin America is a strong area of growth. Is that something to do also with the psychological makeup of the people itself in terms of the fact that they are very social?
You know,
I've just said, it was an interesting statistic, and I was trying to think about it as you were talking.
Yeah, well, I think, it's sort of hard for me to say where it is, but I think certainly parts of the world where person-to-person chat is a strong part of how they interact and do things. It's certainly very conversational, right? I mean, I think shopping, I mean, if you think about it, in India or Latin America, certainly, but other parts as well, is inherently a conversation, right? I mean, you don't just go and say, okay, I want this, this, and that. You're like, oh, do I get a discount if I buy 3 of those? And do you have it in blue, green, or red? Do you have a small, medium, or large, and so on, right? So it's always a conversation, a negotiation, and so on. And I think businesses find immense value in that, because then they can customize it and personalize it and delight the customer. So I think it's really all happening. But yeah, part of it is also the ecosystem, right? Once a few businesses start doing it, other businesses, are forced to kind of do it, because consumers now expect that to happen. And they expect to have a sort of chat surface where they can chat with the business and so on, right? So that tipping point has already happened in LATAM, in India, and I see that happening in other places as well.
Now, Beerud, let's move on to some numbers there. What sort of revenues are you doing right now?
Yeah, we've grown a lot. So we exited calendar 2020 at $150 million revenue run rate, right?
And what sort of profit numbers?
I think we are, compared to many companies in our space, we are surprisingly profitable, I guess. We do about 20% net margin.
Okay.
And, our margins are expected to continue to grow as this transition from SMS and telco-based messaging to WhatsApp and IP-based messaging happens over time. We see, our business expanding as well.
Now, you've raised 100 million from Tiger Global at a valuation of 1.4 billion US dollars. So that basically you've just entered the unicorn club. What's the strategy moving forward, given the war chest that you now have?
Multiple things. I think first and foremost, we're going to, we are an innovation-led business. So we're going to invest a lot in R&D, in product, in engineering, and so on. We are very keen to push the limits of messaging technology. And there's a huge need, right? What I just described. You have millions of businesses. They're all going to need to build these conversational experiences. So there's a lot of need for tools and platforms that enable all of it. The second part is we are going to invest in go-to-market, in sales and marketing around the world, right? I mean, our products and services are already available globally. They work, they're available in the cloud and very quick and easy to use. And we invest a lot in making it very simple and easy. But we are also adding some people in each country to enable, to do evangelism, to do support in the local region and the local language and so on. We are already in about a dozen countries and will scale up even more.
Any acquisitions in the pipeline?
Yeah, and the third area I was just going to say was some M&A, maybe filling in some product gaps or finding some adjacent product opportunities around IP messaging and conversational experiences. So certainly we'll be looking at that also.
Now, final question is really around your entrepreneurial journey. This is your second successful business after Elance. What are the key business lessons that you've learned both as an entrepreneur and a business leader that you can share with other business leaders and entrepreneurs?
Well, my journeys have turned out to be a lot longer than originally planned. Elance slash Upwork took 20 years from inception to an IPO. And even Gupshup is now at 15 years and counting. I think it really just requires a lot of, grit, determination, perseverance, first and foremost. I think it's a roller coaster journey, right? There are the highs are euphoric and the downs are depressing, right? So the lows, the ups and downs of the whole entrepreneurial journey can be very very challenging, and you really have to be even keeled, balanced about it, not to get too depressed or too euphoric in either of those scenarios. I think you have to keep innovating, keep trying out different things, because sometimes it depends, right? It depends on the ecosystem. It depends on what's the technology landscape and so on. But the one invariant is, if you keep at it, keep ideating, innovating, and so on. And we've had a string of products. Some of them were ahead of their time, and so on. But the ones that did work ended up being breakout successes, right? And that's what's kept us here and will keep us going. So really, that's it. And maybe the last thing is just having a very clear sense of vision and mission, right? If we can define it clearly and crystallize it, then it allows you to navigate, the dynamic changes that keep coming up all the time in an entrepreneurial journey. But yeah, it's a rewarding journey after all. I mean, it's good to be able to reach these sort of major milestones. There's a huge road ahead of us still, but we are excited to get this funding round behind us and scale from here.
Now, Beerud, thank you very much for taking the time out to be on the show.
Brian, thanks so much for having me.
Now, I'm Brian Fernandez, and I've been speaking to Beerud Sheth, Gupshup co-founder and CEO, on Biztech's Technology Show. This video will be on our Facebook and LinkedIn sites, as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please subscribe to our various platforms.